Thank you. Okay, so tell me about this study. What was the study that you found?
Now, I just saw a video from David Goggins and his scientists, and they were talking about that there is a specific part in your brain that gets activated if you put yourself through different kind of challenges day by day. And they can like literally see it in your brain that when you put yourself through different kind of challenges, if you try to overcome different kind of obstacles in your life, you activate that part of your brain that's actually responsible for you wanting to be alive. That you really want to be a part of that outside world even more. And if you don't do it, you don't activate this kind of part in the brain when you just like chill on the couch, Netflix and everything. And that's when people start feeling depressed and lonely and everything, because they stopped putting themselves through different kind of challenges. Because to be honest, everything is easy right now. If I want to talk to you, I don't have to come over, I just give you a call. If I want to have some food, I just do Uber Eat. I don't have to be physical active if I don't want to. And actually, we're not made to live like 3 arms long from our fridge. Every time that pops a thought into your head, I'm kind of hungry. Oh, let's see what's going on. Actually, we're not made for like having a hot bath every single day. So if you try to put yourself through different kind of challenges, like doing the cold plunge, doing the cold shower, ice bath, diet, different kind of water fasting, meditation, breath work, a hard workout, whatever you want to call it, you can activate this specific part in your brain, and and that's what it actually makes you feel more alive. And when I heard that, I was like, I have to put myself through different kind of challenges even more.
Yeah, because I think it all comes down to self-belief, right? Like every day we have to prove to ourselves that we have a certain level of confidence. And somebody said this one time. They said, I don't do hard things and challenge myself because I believe in myself. I do hard things and challenge myself because I want to believe in myself more. And so I believe it's always, how do I describe this? Self-belief is constant. You can't lie to your subconscious. So self-belief comes from a place of doing things, accomplishing them, and then naturally increasing your self-belief. Not because you're trying to just sit on a chair and convincing yourself that you believe in yourself. It doesn't really work like that. You can't lie to your subconscious in that way. So by constantly doing things that are difficult and then overcoming them, you're growing your self-belief more and more. And if you're not doing that, and you're just doing things that feel comfortable to you all the time, then your self-belief will naturally start to deteriorate, which will naturally decrease your desire to want to go out into the world because you don't feel like you can compete. You don't feel like you can actually get what you want for yourself in your life. So by me always doing things that are relatively uncomfortable, as far as not even just the physical side of it, but maybe it's reaching out to somebody I haven't spoken to in a while and have an uncomfortable conversation with them about something that bothered me at a certain time. Or maybe it's a potential client that I've been wanting to interact with, but I've been afraid to get rejected by them, so I haven't reached out to them. Right? So it's even things like that that I think are really, really good outside just the physical, looking at your own life and saying, well, what are the difficult things that I've been avoiding? What are the difficult conversations that I've been avoiding? And then being able to put yourself in a position to then confront them, not because you believe in yourself, but because you want to believe in yourself more. And then naturally on the other side of it will grow your self-belief. So every day it's a process of, when you're not doing things that are uncomfortable, self-belief can slowly start to deteriorate, and being aware of that as humans, that we are all like that. You can get the most confident guy in the world, if you set him down for, let's say, a month doing nothing, and then you tell him to go do some insane challenge, I mean, the likelihood of him being able to really own that challenge and believe he can do it at the highest level maybe isn't going to be that high. Unless he's a little delusional, which there's a superpower in and of itself of that, right? But the majority of people, it's proven to yourself over and over again that you are confident and that you believe in yourself, not just something that is always there, but because you want to be able to believe in yourself more.
And that's why I always tell my clients that choosing pain right now is most of the time the best thing you can do in this specific moment, because it makes life easier in the future. But what we do in the most time, that we don't want to step out of a comfort zone, we want to feel comfortable right now, and that's what makes life like super hard in the future. And that's what people don't get, I think. That's one of the most important things to understand. If you overcome obstacles right now, it just brings you to the next level in like your game. You know, and that's always what I try to talk to people. just because you can go the easy path doesn't mean it makes you better, like in the future. It's actually the exact opposite.
Yes.
So when I do the cold plunge, I'm not doing it. Of course, there are a lot of like physical benefits too, but the main reason I do it, it just keeps me going. It's so good for my discipline. It of course is good to get rid of inflammation and keep the blood flow going and recovery and all this stuff.
Yes.
But actually, it's just like you can focus on this specific moment right now even more. And if you can focus on a moment right now, that's where you can really make the difference. And I think that's the biggest problem. People try not to get into that pain right now. They live in the past, live in the future, and I always tell them, if you stand with one leg in the past and one in the future, you're pissing on the moment right now, literally.
Yes.
And that's actually the best way you can describe it. And it's just the moment right now where you can make that change, where you can make that switch. And when I did the cold plunge the first time, it was one of the most purest moments, because I wasn't thinking about what was in the past, what's going to happen in the future. I was just in the moment right now, and that's where I realized this is where I can make the change right now. And now think about how often we think about stuff that happened or that we think is going to happen. Yes. So we're not present in the moment right now. And if you're a killer in being in the moment right now, everything is possible. Like we talk about the frequencies and everything. Your frequency is always high when you're in the moment right now, and you can literally make the change, and you can transform your whole life in the next couple of months. It's crazy.
So have you noticed, because I found that, so next level, so let's say people are very good at challenging themselves physically. So they've dialed in their nutrition, they've become very disciplined in working out, they've done the cold plunges, the cold showers. I found there's some people that use those things that are supposedly difficult, hard things, for the majority of people, but they use those things as a way of not having to confront deeper levels of discomfort, maybe next level in their life.
100%.
So they'll hide behind doing things like a cold plunge or a cold shower, or being excessively disciplined with their eating, or excessively disciplined with their working out, as a way to not take that next level in their life outside of the physical component. Tell me about that. I'm curious what you think about that.
I think what you just said is one of the most important things that you can like heal yourself from the outside, like doing the cold plunge, the cold shower, being on a healthy diet, workout, doing breath work, meditation, all that stuff. But that all makes no sense if you don't understand how your subconscious mind works. So if you don't feel what you do, and if you're not willing to make that change from the inside, to heal yourself from the inside, it's just like a drop on a hot stone. It's just like that, and it will help you feel better like for 2 hours, but then you will also dig deep into that negative emotion again. So actually what we're trying to do with people, that we try to find out what's the real issue. Because I always say, every depression, every physical pain stands for something that's in your life. Something's not going right in your life. Maybe you're not on your path. Maybe you're not on your way. You're not telling life what you really want. It's like people who are depressed are most of the time saying yes, yes, yes to the outside world. So they're always constantly saying no, no, no to themselves. So that means they're not on their path anymore. And the only thing life sends you, that kind of mental pain, like a depression, is that it wants to wake you up. It's like, hey, can you please wake up? You're not on your path anymore. That's the only thing life sends us, pain. Doesn't matter if it's physical or emotional, mental pain, doesn't matter. It's just, life just is always for you. It wants the best for you. And of course, in that special kind of situation, the depression feels like shit. It's like super hard to deal with it. But most of the people, and you can tell when they start realizing, that's why I was depressed back in the days. Life wanted to tell me this. Okay, now I get it. And most of the time you don't get it in that specific situation right now, but afterwards you will say, I was depressed because I wasn't saying what I actually really wanted to say. I was saying no to myself all day long because people are so afraid of saying no. And I always tell them, just say no and see what happens. And the crazy thing is that we think when we say no to the outside world, something scary is going to happen. But what actually happens is that you get the results you really want, because every no to the outside world is a yes to yourself, to your path, to your way. So to answer your question, if you don't heal yourself from the inside, if you don't understand how your subconscious mind works, you can do whatever you want on the outside. It just will help you like 10, 20%, but you will never be truly happy, and you will never get on that path again. You really want to go, actually.
So the end all be all is not to do those things. The end all be all isn't to do the extreme discipline with your nutrition and your working out and your cold plunges and cold showers. That's not the purpose. The purpose of doing those things is to be able to then channel that discipline that you're incorporating into your physical body into then your life outside of that. Right? So being able to take that discipline that you get from doing the physical discipline, and so you can be more disciplined in your life outside of that. And obviously, the harder things that you do, the more belief you're going to have in yourself. So naturally, the easier it's going to be, go back to what you said, to be able to say no to things outside of what you truly want and desire. But also, people have to know themselves a little bit to be able to know what they want to say no to. Right? If you don't know your path, if you don't know where you're going and what you want, and how other people can play into your mission in your life, it's difficult to be able to say no. So if you're in no man's land in your life and you're like, well, I'm not really sure what I want,
so I'm going to say
be difficult.
yes.
Right. So which I think can be very powerful, right? Because a lot of times people that are having a hard time getting motivated or getting going, they are just sitting and not doing anything, so they don't have any momentum. But then once you start catching some momentum and start saying yes to things, then naturally you can discover, okay, that didn't feel good to me. Oh, that thing, it's not really what I want. Then you can know, okay, I don't want that because I've done that and it's not what I really want. That's part of my life, right? So going through a season of yes in the beginning process of really getting yourself going, and then after saying yes a while, you can discover, okay, do I like this? Do I not? But I think a lot of people in the initial phase of really stepping up and out into who they want to be, they don't say yes enough. And in I did a lot of things that were against who I believed I was based off of where I grew up. And so naturally, we're going to say no to a lot of things that don't resonate with who we have been, but who we have been isn't who we need to be to get really what we want. So stepping outside of who we've been, saying yes to certain things, and then through saying yes to multiple things, you can then gain the actual understanding of, okay, that's not what I want. It's not saying no because that's what your programming was based off of who you were at a younger age, but no because you actually tried it, did it for yourself, and you know it's not what you want.
100%. And I think that's one of the one of the main reasons people get depressed, because they actually don't know what to do with their life. They don't even know to what they can say yes, because or no or whatever, because they don't really know where their place is in life. So they just like say, okay, let's do it, because actually I have no idea what to do with my life. So I just say yes to every single opportunity out there that I get offered. You know,
which is good. It's an important season, right? Like whenever I'm starting anything new, I'm saying yes all the time. Right. And then once you say yes enough, let's say like in business, for example, right? I'm sure you said yes to a lot of opportunities. You said yes to a lot of clients. You said yes, like that maybe weren't like the best fits for you. Right. But then through you constantly saying yes, you're like, hold on, I actually don't want to work with these people.
And that's the thing, saying yes when you actually mean no. And that's when people get depressed, because they're saying yes, yes, yes. And subconsciously,
so once you know better and you keep saying yes, then that's when there's a problem.
And that's what I'm talking about, because actually they think, I don't want to do this, but I think I have to. And that's where they start playing the role. And that's why depression, being depressed, just means actually having a deep rest from the role you're playing on the outside world. And when people get that just, it can't be so simple to say just like one more time, no, and yes to myself, and have that why, have that goal, have that vision in your life. I think that's one of the most important things, because I was a professional soccer player back in Austria, and I just decided to quit from one day to another. Because I just didn't see myself into the soccer game anymore, and I just quit, and I was breathing soccer. I was all over. I was doing nothing else. And you can imagine, if your goal just disappears from one day to another, what does it in your head? And of course I felt depressed, and of course I felt sad, but it was my my chance, my responsibility to get me out of there. And I just saw like a cover, like a magazine cover, and there was this ripped dude, and that just gave me my vision back. I was like, yo, that's supposed to be me. That's supposed, on that couch, that's supposed to be me. You're a superstar. Look at you. How do you feel? You feel like shit. You feel sad. You wake up sad in the morning. What's wrong with you?
How did you get yourself to say no to soccer? Like, because you knew there was a point you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done. And you knew that your whole identity would be shattered.
Yeah.
Right? You had to know that soccer was your entire life.
Yeah.
So how did you get yourself to say no to that thing that you knew was no longer like serving you? You knew it was time to move on. How did you get yourself to do it?
I knew that's not the right place for me to be right now. And I, like, back in the days, I started to turn off my mind and listen to my feelings, what I really want. And I was just like, my mind tells me to stay in soccer, of course, because that's my life, that's my living.
You gained
and
a lot of
everything.
approval.
Yeah, of course,
like
the society and the fans and the people, like, hey, you're a soccer player,
Yes.
so cool, people know you and stuff. But I was like, that's not you. And my mind said, you have to keep going and keep playing soccer. But my feeling was like, well, hey, you have to get out of here. You have to go to America. That was always my dream. And I just like put my dream away because I was a professional soccer player and I could never fulfill that vision actually. And
But how'd you start to like, how'd you make that transition between listening to your mind and listening to how you're really feeling? Like, how did you do that?
I was always observing my thoughts because the biggest problem people have is that they think they are their negative beliefs, their limiting thoughts, their negative emotions, whatever. But that's not the case. And when you have that ability to observe your negative thoughts, you can sit with them, you can and accept it, and you can let them go. But what most people do is they don't see the negativity coming, and then the negative thought is here, and they
identify with it.
Yeah, they identify with all negativity out there, and they think, yo, I feel like a piece of shit today.
They're literally identifying with that thought instead of being able to look at it from a bird's eye view and say, okay, I see you, but that is not me.
Yeah.
Which is a skill in and of itself. Have you always been able to do that?
No. So when I was actually
how are
playing
you able to
soccer,
do that? How are you able to remove yourself? How are you able to make that shift?
It's just like a skill you can learn. It's just like a
How'd you
tool.
learn it? Did somebody come to you and say, hey, try this?
I was working with a lot of mental coaches and everything, and a psychologist and all that stuff. And what I was missing back in the days was that they didn't give me really a tool I can use on a daily basis. So they were just talking to you for 1 hour. Afterwards, you felt good, and after 3 hours, you were like back in your thoughts. You were connected to your negative emotions, and you just felt like shit again. So
you found a tool.
Yeah, and I had just to, I was like, hey, I have to find that tool to be able to observe these thoughts. And I literally sit with my negative thoughts. I just sit with them and I go like, I just like speak it out loud. It's okay to be here. Let's sit with me.
Yes.
And when you observe, when you're able to do that, when you see that thought coming and you know that's a product from the outside world.
So you would sit with it.
Yeah,
You would sit with it and you'd say, like, I am nothing, or I'm not worth anything. Like, you would do that.
Yeah.
Like,
I really go like
let
this. I
yourself
really
do
go
it.
like this.
Yes.
Ah, that's interesting. What comes there? Because I was on social media right now, and actually I feel good. I feel wealthy. I feel healthy. I feel blessed. But then you see like something that tries to trigger you on social media, and then there comes a thought from the outside world. You're not enough. You don't have enough money. You're not successful enough. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's a new one.
Hi.
And
Hi,
I try to make fun of it, even, you know? And sometimes I just make fun of it. Okay, that's interesting what my mind's trying to tell me right now.
Yes.
And just if you are able to observe the thought, it will lose its energy. And that's how you can detach yourself from negative thoughts and negative limiting beliefs and the negative emotions and everything. And I always compare it to like a thief. If someone wants to break into your house and the lights go on, most of the time he goes like, what the fuck?
Oh shit, I'm out.
And it's the same with your negative thoughts. If you can observe it, like you do with the thief when the lights go on, it's just like, whoop, they stop because you're like, you tap them like, hey, I see you.
Yes.
And you can sit with me, and then you can go. And that's how you can let go these negative emotions and everything. But most people are not able to observe it. They like you said, they identify themselves with their negative beliefs and all this shit. And so they actually think that they have to feel sad right now.
Yes.
So the difference between like successful people and depressed people is not that one or the other have or don't have negative thoughts. The only thing is that they are able to sit or deal with their negative thoughts, with their negative emotions, and that's how they can detach themselves from that negativity.
Yes.
And that's the most important thing. When Cristiano Ronaldo enters the arena and 80,000 people go like, boo, fuck you, don't you think there are like negative thoughts? Of course. But he's like able to detach himself from these limiting beliefs like this. And all the other people would go like, oh my God, maybe my self-worth goes down because I have to feel the love from the outside world to feel enough. But that's actually not what you have to do, because if you always rely on the judgment of others, you will never be truly happy. Because if something happens in the outside world that doesn't go your way, that means you feel sad. And I just decided that I don't want to be one of those persons. Yes. I want to be responsible for my happiness. And so I always say, if you have that inner dialogue, if that one is strong enough, nothing out there can bother you anymore.
Yes. You know? No, absolutely. That's where you talked about, you said the difference between people that are successful and not isn't that there's the absence of the maybe voice of conflict or the voice of coming down upon you, but their ability to deal with it. I noticed as I continued to become more successful in my life in every area, new thoughts emerge. So I think it's really important for people to know that it's not like you'll eventually get to this place where there's no thoughts that exist that are combating who you are in that moment. Right? That there's always going to be those thoughts that are telling you that you can't do this or can't do that.
100%.
And it's not that, it doesn't have to be a big deal though. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I'm a victim because I have these thoughts, and I'm depressed because I have these thoughts. Like, dude, everybody has them. That's a natural reaction that our brains put upon us because our brains want to preserve themselves. Our brains don't want to change. Okay, so naturally, our brains are going to do what they can to try to get us to not change. And oftentimes that comes in the form of negative self-talk. But if you can understand that, hey, that's a natural part of the human function, is to stay where it is to preserve itself, that can allow you to start to get beyond it. Because I still notice the thoughts. I still, like, whenever I'm moving beyond where I've been, maybe that's financially, maybe that's with women in my life, maybe that's with going deeper into my friendships. There's always new thoughts that emerge that are trying to convince me to not do it. They're to throw the kitchen sink at me to try to not do it. So,
especially when you put yourself through different kind of
exactly,
challenges.
It's always going to show up,
course,
always. But if you can develop an association with it, of one being, oh wow, this is fun, and you can transfer the anxiety associated with stepping into something new into a little excitement, then it's going to be a lot more fun. And so, for example, there was a cliff that I jumped off in, I was in Mallorca, Spain a couple of years ago, and it was super, super high. And I had a friend who was really, really nervous, and he's like, oh gosh, like, I don't know if I can do this, I'm not sure. And I'm like, oh fuck, here we go. This is getting, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like, I can't believe we're doing this. And so we were both experiencing the same thing, which was, ooh, this feels a little scary.
Yeah.
But
it's always a fear of death, actually.
Right, exactly.
Your body literally thinks he's dying right now.
Yes,
it's crazy.
Which is normal, right? But can you channel that fear that comes up, which the body is doing what it can to not have to change, and be excited compared to being anxious and excessively nervous? Then you can enjoy it a little more.
Yeah. I think what I always tell myself, and I always tell to my clients, you can be shy, you can feel anxious, you can have this kind of fear and troubles in yourself. It's not a problem, but do it anyway. Just do it. Just do it, and what happens? You don't have to do it in the craziest way and jump off a cliff, maybe because you're just like a different kind of animal, but you don't have to start with like facing your fears like this, but just do the first step.
Yes.
And if you just do 1% more every single day, imagine where you are like a half year, like 6 months from now. Imagine that. You don't have to do it like right away. So when, let's say you want to start taking a cold shower, you don't have to like go to the coldest level and just get right into it. Just adapt every single day, and like in 2 months, it's just like the basic thing for you to get a cold shower in when you're when you wake up.
Yes.
Same with breath work. Same with working out. You can start working out together with us if you have never done sports in your life before. You have to start on a basic level. And I think that one of the biggest problems people have is they're not patient. And I always tell them, imagine how crazy our body, mind, and soul is, that you treat them like shit for 10, 20, 30 years, and you're doing like 2 or 3 things good or better, you improve them for like 2 or 3 months, and you feel the difference right away. Imagine how crazy life works, that you're just doing that stuff for a couple of weeks, and you already feel better. And that's insane. Yes. So that's why I don't get the victim mentality, because it's always up to you. No matter where you are in your life right now, it's not a dead end. It's not a dead end. You just have to get back on that highway of life and don't take the first exit to your excuses, and everything is possible. But you have to get out of your mind, into your heart, back on your way, what you really want to do, and then it's limitless.
Yes.
It is literally limitless, because we're here in Beverly Hills, California right now. I'm from Austria. Does my mind says that's a regular thing to do, just to move to the other side of the planet? No. My mind tried to fuck with me all the time and telling me all that kind of bullshit. You can't do this, and it's such a big risk, and everything is more expensive. And what?
Which is all true.
Yeah, it is. But my feeling was like, that's what your soul wants. You have to do it. There is no option. There is no option. And I decided some things for me are non-negotiable. I don't negotiate about those things. If I feel I have to do it, I just do it.
But that's the part is, though, a lot of the things that our brains will say to us, though, to get us to not do it, oftentimes can be technically true.
Yeah.
Right? So technically true. So being able to like notice and say, hey, those things may be technically, practically true, but then being able to say, and I still know this is what I need to do.
Yeah, 100%. What's the worst thing that can happen? I always ask, so I go to the US, I fuck up, I can always go back to Austria, always, and live the life I lived back in Austria. I can always do that, you know? And so, of course, there's always some truth about it. When your brain tells you, hey, you have to watch out. Of course, because when I cross the street, and I'm not like taking care if there are cars, the chances are pretty high to get hit by a car. Of course, I have to use my mind to not get hurt in life and everything. But on a certain point, it just shifts to, hey, don't do this, because I feel more comfortable where I am right now. And I just decided not to be that guy in this world out there. And when I'm 95 years old, when I look back on my life, I don't want to live a life like, what if? What if I tried? No, I just tried it, wasn't for me, boom, next one, boom, next one, till you find out what's your path in life, and then you just go for it.
Yes.
You know, and I think that's one of the most important things, and people just stop doing it because it's just comfortable sitting on the couch, you know. And that doesn't mean that you should that it's like a bad thing to sit on the couch and watch Netflix. It's cool, but if you do it like 5 hours in a row every single day, you just have to just check how you feel afterwards. Do you feel energized? Do you feel good afterwards? Do you think, now I did something that like leveled up my life? Most of the times you go like, eh.
Yes.
I suffer from lack of energy right now, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then you talked about the path, your path in life, and being able to pursue that. I think that can be a little overwhelming for people when people talk about the big purpose. Like, hey, find your purpose. Hey, like, find your path. And it's like, well, I don't know what the fuck I want to do or how to do it. But I think it's less about having to discover a greater path or greater purpose and more about stepping into you in the present moment. Okay, me right here, right now. What is something that I want to do? Okay, well, I know I want to go work out. So let me go do a workout. Okay. There's a girl that I want to talk to. Okay. Let me send her a message.
Yeah.
Right? So like just keep coming back to the moment of what is my inspiration? What is my micro inspiration right now? And if you could just continually do that over
it
and
leads
over
to
and
the
over
big
again.
thing. It leads to the
But-
big thing.
But you
yeah.
don't even have to know the big thing. Like, because I don't believe that. I don't believe there's like a purpose for each person. I don't subscribe to that narrative. I believe it's about staying connected to each moment and being able to stay aligned with, okay, what do I want to do right now? And eventually over time, if you do that enough, there might be something that emerges that you feel really inspired to do,
Yeah.
but it's not, you don't discover it through trying to discover a purpose. You discover it through allowing yourself to be present in each moment and asking yourself, what do I want to do right now? What do I want to do right now? And consistently doing that over and over and over and over again. And the interesting thing is when I do that, oftentimes there's a level of discomfort that comes up in me when I understand the micro-inspiration that I know I need to do. So, for example, there was a time here in Los Angeles, maybe like a year and a half ago, and there was this girl that I saw. I was like, oh my God, like she's fucking beautiful. And we just ran into each other in the hallway. We lived like 5 doors down, but she was ironically moving in like, I think it was like 2 days. So I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe we can, I can see her before she leaves. And so we were talking and she's like, hey, like actually, like, I'm in the middle of packing and it's not gonna work for us to, or for me to have any free time. I could tell she really like kind of wanted to make that time, but she just felt overwhelmed and knew there wasn't enough time to be able to do it. So myself, I'm like, I can get a little worried about like being too pushy. Like I don't like to do that. And so I'm like, okay, sounds good that I left. But part of me is like, I'm gonna go over there tonight. I'm gonna bring a bottle of like
You have to try it.
sparkling water, and I'm gonna have 2 glasses.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna go over there now. I know she told me that she doesn't
But what's
have.
the worst thing that can
What's
happen?
the worst thing that happened,
Nothing.
right?
No, not
so,
not
dude,
answer.
so I
Boom.
like, bro, I got the sparkling water, and I was in my apartment being like, oh my God, I'm really gonna fucking do this. Like, all the voices in my head are like, oh, she's gonna think you're creepy. Oh, she's gonna tell people that you're a weirdo. Like, all the voices, bro.
Your mind starts to fuck with you.
Bro, my mind is like
It's
all
telling you
over.
the most terrible things.
Oh,
Actually, yes.
and I'm in my room like getting myself hyped. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually gonna fucking do this. I have to do this. But I stayed in touch with that micro inspiration, right?
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I have to do this. So step by step, walk to the door, open my door, walk down to hers, and I sat there. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm here. Here we go. And I just knocked. I knocked. I'm like, okay, that's it. I just knocked. Now it's over. Now it's like, now it's happened. Now I'm like, I put it into motion. So I'm standing there. She opens the door, and she's in a robe. She's like, oh hi, and I'm like, 1 glass. I had the bottle. I said 1 glass.
Love it.
And she's like, well, I actually have a little bit of time right now. I was just getting ready. She's like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I sat there, and she's like, let me get changed for a second. And then she closed the door, went and got changed. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like, how did that just work? Because everything in my brain was like, there's no way this is going to happen. She's going to close the door. She's going to say she's busy.
But why wouldn't it work?
Right.
Because it felt like right.
It's coming from this deeper place.
It feels.
Yes.
And when you feel it right here, just do it.
Yes.
And that's what we like mislearn.
Yes. And she came out, and we had an incredible, like we went up to the rooftop. We had awesome, like an hour and a half conversation. Like it was great. But it's not, and now not every situation ends like that. I've gotten rejected, multiple times as well.
We all did.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's like giving yourself the permission to step into that and recognizing that the win comes from just stepping into it. The win doesn't come from the result.
No.
The win didn't come from her saying, hey, okay, let me get changed. Let's go upstairs and talk. The win came from me just simply allowing myself to walk out the door and knock on her door.
Yeah.
When that happened, anything else didn't matter. Nothing else mattered.
Yeah.
So if you can really hone in on detaching from the thing that you want to happen happening and just focus on, well, my inspiration is just talking to her. If I can just get there and open the conversation, then that's the win.
Because it's not about the result. Actually.
Correct. Exactly. Because I actually don't really know why I was meant to go talk to her. My brain says because, ooh, I want to like hang out with her, I maybe want to hook up with her, maybe want to spend time with her, right? Like all those types of things.
Yeah.
But there might actually be a deeper reason that exists beyond what my brain's telling me. So if I could detach from the idea of what I think the outcome needs to be, then naturally God can step in and say, okay, well actually this wasn't about you being with this girl. This was Keyen. This was about you.
Your challenge.
Exactly.
To get to the next level.
Exactly.
100%, yeah.
So can I be in the tension of doing what I know is right to do to get me to the next level? So it's also a very important thing to do. That can help us detach from the outcome. Is us being able to know that hey, God is using our brain to get us to do something
Yeah, that's cool.
that might not actually be the thing that is supposed to be for us, but it's getting us to do that for some greater reason that exists beyond our comprehension.
Because 100%, I'm 100% sure that in that special moment, you weren't thinking about yesterday or what's going to happen tomorrow. You were just present in that kind of moment.
Yes.
And that's why you're telling it, why you told that story right now. Because it was so special, because you were so present in the moment right now.
Alive.
And that's when I was doing the cold plunge the first time, like it wasn't actually a cold plunge, it was like really the ice bath thing. I saw it on your IG too, when you were swimming in that lake with your brother. And my first experience was so beautiful because we decided to do it on the 25th of December, like the Christmas day, back in Austria.
So fun.
And me and my guys, we met like at 5 a.m. in the morning. It was super dark, super like Austrian cold, like really cold. And there was snow everywhere. And we went to the place, we parked our cars, and it took us like 10 minutes to get to the lake. And I had the sledgehammer and everything. And I just start cracking the ice.
That's so
boom.
cool.
And I was like, what? Okay, that's really thick ice, you know? And I just boom, boom, boom. And we cracked the hole into it. And I just undressed myself. I just was wearing like a hat and my boxers. And I was like, okay, now you can't back down now because all of you guys are here.
Oh, yeah.
And now you really have to do it. And now I tipped my toe into the cold water and was like, it was cold. It was like really cold, bro. And my mind started to fuck with me like really bad. And the only reason why I got into the cold water was because I didn't want to be like the bitch in front of my dudes. And of course I was the first one. I had to go in there because I'm the coolest and everything. I just did it because of my ego, actually not really smart.
Which is great.
Yeah, but I just went into the cold water and I was like, and the crazy thing is I was thinking about it all night because we decided on the 24th and my mind was fucking with me all night. I wasn't like having a good sleep, whatever. I was thinking about it like constantly all the time. And what I realized was when I dipped into the water, it was one of the purest moments in my whole life. And it changed so much for me because I realized I'm not thinking about what was in the past, what's in the future. I was just present in the moment right now. And that's why I decided when I can choose being present in every single moment, and now, and now, and now, and now, I'm responsible. I can make that change in my life. So we often don't take decisions because we are so afraid of what's going to happen. But if I just live in that moment right now, I don't even care what happened tomorrow because you can never know anyway.
Yes.
And so that was my mental experience with a real ice bath. And that's the craziest thing for me, and that's why I kept doing it all the time. And that was like 8 years ago, and I still can remember that moment like it was yesterday because I was so present.
Yes.
You know, and that was insane, bro. That was really crazy.
Well, that's incredible, and I think what can help be able to get more capable of being in that present moment and locked in is understanding how stupid our brains actually are.
Yeah.
Like, dude, my brain is smart, but it's actually not that smart.
Yeah.
Because my brain's understanding of what's going to happen is only limited based on my experiences. So think about how many infinite experiences or possibilities that could happen from any little thing that I do. If you just comprehend that, it's infinite, right? If I step outside, there's a million things that could happen. But my brain says, well, if I step outside, then this will probably happen, or that will probably happen. And that's only based off of my limited understanding of my life experiences, or the culmination of life experiences of the people that I've listened to or been around in my life. So if I can understand that my brain's understanding of what's possible is so fucking limited, it can give me more permission to discredit that voice that exists in my brain and say, well, what's more powerful is me being in this present moment and be able to tap into the inspiration, that micro inspiration that exists within that present moment. So that really at least helps me in being able to be like, well, my brain's capacity to understand what's going to happen is so fucking limited. So if I can just detach from that and stay connected to that little micro inspiration of, hey, for the example of you jumping in the ice, it's like, well, I just know the inspiration is to get in the ice or to get into the water that's this a foot of ice.
But you really
around
took a swim. I love that. That was cool, actually.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
I was like, wow, that's.
But still, it's
I
like
love it.
it's just where's the inspiration? Okay, the inspiration says jump in, right? You're at the lake in Austria. The inspiration says jump in. All the other voices are saying, well, this might happen or that might happen. Da, 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 da. But just jump in. Okay. Jump in. Jump.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you can discredit all those voices saying what's going to happen and stay connected to that moment of just do this. Hey, just go over there and knock on the door.
Yeah.
Whew. Okay. And people to block all those other voices, which I like what you said earlier, which is almost make fun of them a little bit. Like that's like next level, like being able to make fun of a lot of the voices.
That's interesting. What are you trying to say?
Hey,
okay.
You're silly.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Yes.
Because when you start making fun, it's just like easier to deal with all the shit, you know. And
Before you skip on from that, how do you tell me like what that's like when you're making fun of that voice? Like literally, like walk me through that.
I do it because when I observe my negative thoughts and when I start making fun of them,
Tell me how you make fun of it. Like, what would be an example of
I
you
just
making
go like,
fun?
really, I sit with them, I literally go like, okay, do you really think that's gonna happen? Okay. How big?
So that's not weird.
How
That's
big
not
are
weird
the
to sit there and do that.
chances? No, how big are the chances that it actually happens? Because we all make this experience in our lives that we're thinking about something, oh my God, that's going to happen. If I do this, it's going to happen. And most of the time it works out, but still, if it doesn't work out, like the anxiety, it's just like this, not like crazy. So if the anxiety really turns into reality, it's not close to that what you thought in your mind, because your mind always try to tell you you're gonna die.
Yes.
And you go into my mind really told me, what if you're going to die in that cold water? And I was standing there in front of that hole, like I cracked with a sledgehammer, and I was like, my mind goes, okay, what if I don't survive this? What if I just get into cold water and I'm just like, I just freeze and I'll never make it out of there? That's how your brain works.
Yes.
And of course, afterwards, you know, that's absolute bullshit. But in that kind of situation, like you said before, your brain doesn't want to feel uncomfortable. Your brain, your mind tries to do everything, plays every trick on you, not putting yourself through the challenge.
Yes.
So when I met Arnold Schwarzenegger the first time, we're actually from the same town, and the lake where we did the ice bath for the first time, that's the Tala Say called, like Tala Lake, and that was where he proposed to Maria Shriver. So that's it's so funny how everything works out. And when I met him the first time, everybody told me, hey, you cannot talk to him during a workout. He will go crazy. He will go nuts if you talk to him during a workout because he's so focused on what he's doing right now. And I met him at Gold's Gym, and I saw him, and I was like goosebumps because he's like a mentor, an idol for me my whole life. And I can identify so much with his story. And I saw him, I was like, okay, you can't talk to him right now, but when he leaves the gym, you have to be there. And I was just like doing bench press, something like that. And suddenly he sits down at the machine next to me. And my brain immediately popped in and said, you can't talk to him. You don't do that. People don't do it in Hollywood. You can't. You just respect it. But my gut, my feeling said,
do it.
You have to do it. You have to do it. Imagine he's gone and you will never see him again. You have to live with that feeling your whole life, that you had the chance to talk to him and you didn't. And so I was just like, hey, what's up? I was talking to him in German, of course. I was like, hey, what's up? I'm from Austria. I'm here because of you. And I just started talking. And he went like, and just walked away. And my mind was like, okay, that was it. But my feeling said, you have to go after him. And I was just like walking behind him. I was just keep talking on German. I was just talking. And he gave me that attitude like, so, dude, what do you want from me? And I instantly said, I just want to let you know, I don't want anything from you. The only thing I just want to say was thank you, that you had such a great impact on my life, on my journey. You motivate me so fucking much every single day without knowing me. And that's where I catched him, and he went like, thank you. I don't get that very often. And then we went out and there were paparazzi everywhere and like people like talking bullshit and taking pictures. And I was like, okay, that's done. And he came over and said, hey, do you got your cell phone with you? And I was like, yeah, sure, let's do a big shot. And I was like shaking like this, you know. And
love this.
why I love to tell this story is because it was back in days a couple years ago, but I was so present in that moment because I faced one of my biggest fears to get rejected by one of the greatest idols in my life. And so I'm getting goosebumps right now because I'm so into still in that emotion. And I could have never forgiven myself if I didn't try. So I was like, I have to do it. And I was so present that like when I went into the ice bath the first time, it feels like it was yesterday. Talking to him the first time, going to the ice bath. And that shows me if you do things that really connect you to the moment right now, like you said, that's what it's actually all about. Because those are the stories you can tell later on. And you can make that change right now. So if you put yourself in those kind of situations more and more and more often, just be curious and excited about what happens.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I asked you about that dialogue that you have with making fun of those voices, because I think a lot of people might hear that and they might do some elements of that, but they'll think it's weird. Or that they might like judge themselves for having that conversation. For me to sit there and be like, oh, I see you. Okay. Hey. Okay, but you're not me, so I'm going to do this anyway. They might think that's weird. Now, that's normal for me. I'm like, because I have that conversation. I do the same thing as you. But I think it's really important for people that might start to practice that it might feel a little weird and uncomfortable disassociating from your thoughts.
Always.
And having that conversation, right?
It's always
so
like
it's a practice of being like, hey, it's okay for me to feel like a fucking weirdo by talking to myself, by talking to that thought that I'm choosing to disassociate from and doing it anyway.
Because you're actually used to basic thinking, right? And basic thinking is just what society tells you. So if you're trying to do new stuff, it will always feel weird. It's like when you're not used to doing push-ups and you do push-ups, it will feel weird. It will hurt a little. You're gonna feel sore the next day, of course. But it's the same when you try to adapt your mindset. When you open up your subconscious mind, it's the same with working out. You have to do it on a regular basis every day, and then you will start feeling better over some time. And it's okay to feel weird, because every time I feel weird, I'm a little out of my comfort zone. And we all know that slogan, where it's out of the comfort zone where magic happens.
Right.
And that's how it is. So just do more of that stuff that feels weird. It's absolutely fine. It's okay. It's just like society tells you to be normal, to be basic, to don't do that stuff that feel weird. But that's what I'm thinking about all the time. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, why did he do so many different kind of things? Being in bodybuilding, acting, and governor for the environment and everything. Because he always wanted to put himself through different kind of challenges because he wanted to be alive.
Yes.
And most people, they don't live, they survive. I don't know from which movie that was. I think 12 years as a slave or something like that, where they say, we're not living anymore, we're just surviving. And I got that feeling with a lot of people out there. They wake up in the morning and they try to survive. They're in pain, physically, emotionally. Oh my God, my back hurts. Oh my God, I feel depressed. And they don't even find time to be in the present moment. They don't even find time to realize their goal, to fulfill their vision or whatever. They just try to survive, and when they get back home from work, they're like, finally I made it. And you hear it all over the place, on the radio. You hear it on the radio like on Wednesday, guys, we just have 2 more days to go and we're done with this week. Wow, great. So you survived another 2 days of your life. Do you think about that the same way when you're 90 years old?
Right.
And that's where we can like rethink and open up your mind. And we don't have to do it from one day to another, like everything, but try to adapt 1% of that mindset every single day and just see what happens.
Yes.
And there's no way that you won't feel better afterwards. There's no way. If you get yourself into the kind of energy, if you put yourself on a certain kind of frequency, the change is just a natural result from the things you try to do, you know?
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you brought up Schwarzenegger being so multidimensional, like him going through all the different seasons of life where he was the bodybuilder and he's an actor, and then he's the governor, and he's doing all these different things, and he just allowed himself to flow with a natural progression of life because he knew that maybe he was just doing what he wanted to do, which is cool, which is the goal, I think. But someone that comes up for me is Matthew McConaughey. Like that's, I resonate with how he's lived his life and in a lot of different ways. He's always just done a bunch of crazy shit. And if you haven't read the book Green Lights, like it's a phenomenal book that really resonates with me. But being able to, like I said earlier, disconnect from any idea of there having to be one purpose or one thing that you're living your life towards, and staying connected to how is my inspiration consistently evolving. McConaughey was a beautiful example of that throughout his life. Arnold Schwarzenegger, incredible example through his life. He probably didn't say, hey, I want to do just this one thing. He said, ooh, I want to do this right now. So I'm going to go do this right now. And then when he wants to do something else, he goes, ooh, I actually want to do this now. And so I'm going to go do that now. So disconnecting from that idea of I have to have and find my purpose and saying, well, what do I want right now? And being able to consistently go all in on whatever that is and to be okay with when it transitions and when something else feels exciting to do. Because I think that can also be very difficult for people when someone's gone all in on becoming something or doing something. It can be difficult to transition into a different, let's say, season of life because you're just used to doing something that you've always done. So maybe it wasn't easy for Arnold to go from bodybuilder to actor because it was something that was a little different, but he stayed connected to that inspiration inside of himself that said, hey, this is a little weird, this is a little awkward, this doesn't feel right for my brain to do, but I'm gonna do it anyway.
And it feels like that's the thing I have to do.
Yeah. That's what we're coming back to. It's like, how connected can you stay to that voice that exists within you that says, this is what I just know I have to do, separate from all the other voices. And that's what I say is God. Like I believe like that, the people that are able to stay that connected to the voice, that to me is the highest demonstration of a relationship that you can ever have with a higher power or a creator, is staying connected to that voice that I would say is God that exists within you that says, this is what we truly want to do. Just go do this.
And I think that's one of the most important things that you just said earlier, that you feel weird, but do it anyway. Just do it. And when Arnold Schwarzenegger went from being one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, and he made that transition into politics, everybody went like, well, that's nuts. Why would you do that? Because I feel that's the next move for me. Because I'm getting
and that's it. Yeah, that's the only answer you need. I
doesn't
feel
matter what
like
the outside
it's the
world
right
says.
thing to do. And I think people oftentimes feel they have to justify themselves. They feel like they have to over-explain why they're doing something to people around them, right? All the people that are like, well, you're a bodybuilder and an actor. What are you doing in politics? And so Arnold could have been like, oh, well, no, I feel like I should because I've learned these skills and I need to do that. But he just said, no, it's what I feel like is right to do. And that's all he needed to do.
And when you 100%, when you're 100% sure that you want to do something, you don't have to explain yourself. Just do it. Because always when you try to explain yourself, that means something that you feel a little insecure maybe. But when I'm 100% sure I'm on my way, I want to do that, it feels just like good. I feel it in my gut. I don't have to explain myself. If somebody tells me you're not as cool as you think you are, you're not as good of a coach as you think you are, that's fine with me. I don't have to explain myself. Now I'm a good coach because of this and that. I just would do that if I felt insecure. And maybe I think that he's right with some of the things he just said. And that's what he just showed in a perfect way. Going from bodybuilding into being one of the most highest paid actors in Hollywood, going into politics and everything, it's just insane. And that just kept me driving when I was a little boy, that everything is possible and it doesn't matter what the outside world thinks of you. Because if you start doing stuff, like you said, you really want to do right now, there's one thing that happens. Your frequency is always on a high level. We talked about that earlier. And if your frequency on your energy level is super high, the chances of getting depressed, some kind of diseases, getting hurt or whatever, are pretty low. Because, like I said, every pain, physically or mentally or whatever, is just a sign of life that wants to wake you up and say, hey, look closer. You have to take care of that. And I think when you do whatever you want to do, like from your gut. It's just your frequency is always high, and life doesn't have to show you, hey, I have to wake you up.
Yes. No, absolutely. And,
You know?
and also, when you do decide to fully commit to that gut instinct, it's messy and can feel scary, and it can feel like everything is collapsing around you. And that's one of the most common things that I hear from my clients is like, I don't have any mental stability right now because we just shook up everything of who they thought they were, right? And they're choosing to deny that voice in their head that says, oh, we're this. Remember, this is how we are. This is how we act. This is how we do things. And they're saying, no, 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 no. Of course, the brain's going to be like, what the fuck are we doing?
So they realize that they don't know who they actually are, right?
Yes, that's where it all starts.
They thought they were like this and that,
Yes.
and then you come over and say like, no,
Yes.
that's just something you think you are.
But that's part
not
of
true.
it.
Yeah.
That's part of it. The chaos is part of it. And I think oftentimes people paint this picture of becoming who you want to be as being this like beautiful, amazing thing, which it is, but in the process of becoming that thing, you're literally dying over and over again. The parts of you that you thought you were, you're rejecting over and over again. So naturally, that's going to create controversy in your mind.
Yeah.
So when you're in the process of denying or laughing at or making fun of those voices, it will oftentimes feel very uncomfortable
100%, yeah.
because you're no longer being who you have been, and your body's going to get thrown off, your mind's going to get thrown off. We can go deep into the science of the cellular production associated with consistent action, but
harder than any workout you can do out there. Like it's harder
uncomfortable.
than any physical workout you can do out there. But I just decided that I want to see the positive stuff out there in the world. And when I focus on the negativity all day long, it's not just like that my mind works in a negative way. I manifest it in my body. So you can really see it in your body. So what you have to do actually is to reprogram your cells and get all the negative bullshit out of that and replace it with some positive emotions. And
yes, and that's epigenetics.
Yeah.
Right? That's epigenetics.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane, the science. This is what really got me into this industry in the first place was a guy named Bruce Lipton. He wrote a book called The Biology of Belief, and he talks about epigenetics, meaning epi, above genes, and how our environment and our perception of our environment, and the things that we do to our bodies ultimately determine which cells will be replicated, which ones won't. So I'll get a little nerdy for a second, but our cells have thousands of different ways that they can express themselves. So think about it like there's a color hue, so there's white on one and black on the other. We have a cell, and depending on how we treat our bodies and how we're thinking about our lives will determine which color on the spectrum will be expressed. So just because we might have breast cancer in my gene doesn't mean I'm going to get it. Why? Because that version of the gene isn't expressing itself. So it can be in my genome, but just because it's in my genome doesn't mean it's what will happen. So depending on how we think about our lives and the inputs that we have, so how we work out, how we eat, how we work out, that'll determine which version of the cell is expressing itself. And so that cell consistently replicates over and over again. So when you stop, let's say, eating bad, or you stop thinking a certain way that cell replicated itself stops. It stops replicating. And so that cell actually starts to die off because it's no longer replicating itself anymore. And then a new version of that cell is expressing itself. So you're literally, what you were talking about, you're changing your DNA, you're changing your physical composition of your body simply by changing how you're thinking about the world or how you're doing things, which is so wild. Like it can be explained by science how you're literally changing the composition of your body through shifting
that's
how
the
you're
most
thinking.
important thing, that it's not believe, achieve, and if you believe, then
science.
maybe it's going to, it's science. We know not, when you do this, maybe it's going to happen. We know if you do it, it's just a matter of time till it shows in your physical outside world. And that's the crazy thing. If you understand that, then life is limitless, actually.
Yes.
And that's crazy. And what I always try to tell people, there's something in your brain is called reticular activating system, and it just blocks different kind of things that are not important for you right now.
It just focuses on finding the way that you believe right now, right? Finding or justifying whatever your current thought is, right?
Yeah, of course. And you can just, your reticular activating system just blocks all the things that it believes it's not important for you right now.
Yes.
So if you start your day with negative news, newspaper, TV, radio, subconsciously comparing yourself to others on social media, whatever, your brain thinks that all that negative stuff is super important for you because your subconscious mind doesn't make it different. It's not judging that's good or that's bad. It just sees where the focus goes, where the energy flows. So it shows you more of that negative stuff in the outside world. For example, you want to buy a new car, let's say a Tesla, and you check in the price, you talk to your girl, you talk to your parents, you Google it and everything, and suddenly you see more of this specific car on the street.
Yes.
Why? Because there are like suddenly more Teslas on the street? No, because your subconscious mind thinks that's super important for you right now because you started focusing on it, and it shows you the Tesla and it blocks out the BMW and the Mercedes. And that's the same thing with negative and positive situations in your life. There is always negativity and positivity, always at the same time. But your reticular activating system decides what you are able to recognize
Yes.
in your what's really here in your perception right now. And if you understand that, it's not believe, achieve, it's science. We know if you focus on positive things, your reticular activating system shows you the positivity in the world and blocks out all the negative bullshit.
Absolutely.
And that's insane.
Well, it's kind of the RAS, reticular activation system, is almost the same thing as the algorithm on social media.
Yeah, it's the same actually.
Literally,
it's the
I put
explore
that together
page.
and I'm like, holy shit! Like when I'm saying
cool.
when I'm saying things, my phone's picking it up, and it's gonna feed me things that are indicative of what I've been speaking about. Or if I've been looking up something on the internet, social media is gonna give me content or ads associated with that thing that I'm looking up.
That's a good comparison.
So the RAS in your brain is the same thing as the algorithm on social media. So people can understand that, they can understand how it works and what it is. So then if you don't want certain things to show up on your social media, what do? If you don't want half-naked girls to keep showing up on your social media, then you stop looking it up. You start searching for other things. Well, if you don't want that to show up on your page, then what do you want to show up? Well, I think I need to start being more positive in my life. So what if I started looking up things on my Discover page that are more positive, or people that are speaking positivity in the world? Then my social media is going to start feeding me more of those things, right? So if you can look at the algorithm on social media as the same way your mind works, then it can be a little easier to get on board with the concept of, well, if I just change my inputs, or if I just change what I'm starting my day with, not the news or negative things on social media, but maybe reading from the Bible, or maybe calling a friend that
or just
I love talking to,
or just sit and observe what your minds try to tell you you have to do right now. When you wake up in the morning and you're used to having coffee with sugar and milk and reading the newspapers and all that terror and all the negative news that just pop into your system.
Coffee's a fucking scam.
Yeah, and that's it.
Coffee's a scam.
And now imagine, you just sit there for 15 minutes doing nothing. Imagine what happens. Your system will go crazy. Because it's used to getting that coffee, getting that newspaper, turn on the radio or the TV, whatever. And your system will go crazy. But like you can that's scientifically proved, when you make it through those 15 minutes and you just do nothing, just sit there and observe your thoughts, the chances that it's going to be a good day are so high. You will be more friendly, you will be more patient, you will be more motivated, you will be more disciplined, and all these positive things you actually want to have in your life. Just by sitting 15 minutes and not reacting on your system. And that's how you reprogram yourself day by day by day by day. Just doing the complete opposite what your system actually wants you to do. If you want to go there, just try to go to the complete other direction and just see what happens. We don't know it right now, but just let it happen. And I think when we learn that, it's just crazy. Everything is possible, because no matter where you are in your life right now, you can reprogram your whole system, your mind, your body, and your soul, and you can live exactly the life you want to live, and you don't even have to know what kind of life it should be right now. You just can start with the first step.
And the first step is being able to see the thoughts, connect to the micro inspiration, allow yourself just to do whatever you feel like you really are inspired to do in that moment, and just keep following that.
I love it, brother. I think we can wrap it up, right? So
Good
we're
shit,
talking
bro.
deep, huh? Cool.
Yes.
Love it. Love you guys. I see you the next podcast, and I can't wait to talk to you again. I have to come to Miami,
Yes.
and we
Do
do a
Miami next
podcast
time.
at the beach, right? That's cool. That's a cool one we have to do. Okay?
Got a studio dialed in. We'll do it.
Let's do it, brother. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Cool. It's always good talking to you, man. Really. I love it. It's
Yeah,
so
that was
cool.
fucking. We on a
Really
roll.
deep. That time flied, man.
What was that, an hour? Maybe.
I think even more because it's 10:30 now.
My time's all fucked. I don't wear it enough.
We start. Yeah, I
I
never wear it actually. I just use it as a tool for podcasts and social media.
Oh, yeah, of
because
course.
you people.
But you know the clock doesn't work unless you wear it, right?
What? No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that when I
You
first
have
got
to.
mine.
You have to
Yeah.
have this kind of thing, you know, that shakes the. You know that where you put your watches into that box and it sometimes it moves, so it always keeps going.
Oh,
Do you
really?
know that? Yeah, you can.
I need to get one of
I don't
those.
have it, but you can do it like this. Yeah.
Bro, I thought mine was broken when I first bought it. 'Cause
No,
they didn't tell me
shit,
that.
no.
So I took it to a store. I'm like, hey, like what the like?
No,
I
no,
just literally
no.
just got this. I got it in Italy, and I was like back in the U.S. I'm like,
No,
oh
no,
shit.
no,
like,
no.
They're like, no, you actually.
Where did you buy it?
Rome.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
I
no,
got
no.
back to the U.S. and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, fuck, like it's
Yeah.
already broken. Like,
But
what?
I love using those things because there's not a lot of depth in the world, and people see cars and watches and everything, and they go like, maybe he has something. He has something to say, you know, and then you can pull them into the deep stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So by showing them
the
the
fanciness.
fake thing, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. Cool.
Good shit, dude.
Wow, I
That was
love it,
awesome.
man. I love it. And I really have to
Keyen.
go to Miami because
Yeah.
my wife.
I got a studio already. Like that's
Really?
that's already set up and.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Because my wife, she wants to go to Miami and to New York, and I've been a couple of times there, and I love it. It's so cool. So maybe we can go there for like 1 or 2 weeks, then we can do podcasts and shoot content and everything.
We'll have to play some paddle too. You ever play
Yeah.
paddle?
No,
bet
but
you
it's the upcoming thing in Austria right now.
Paddle is
But,
too?
yeah.
Bro, it's growing everywhere.
Yeah?
Like, Miami, it's huge.
Really?
It's coming up from like Spain and Italy. It's huge in Spain and Italy, and they're just
okay. I
like
didn't know that.
expanding out. But everybody plays pickle.
Okay.
Pickleball, you
Is
know.
that- Is
but-
that with that net in the middle?
Yeah,
Where-
pickle,
where you
pickle is
just-
everything in front, and it's like a little wiffle ball. But paddle, it's a back wall that you play against, so you hit it off the wall. You use a tennis ball, but it's like racquetball and
yeah,
tennis
yeah.
combined.
Yeah,
Bro, it's so
there
fucking
are so many different things because in Venice they play like kind of tennis with those smaller rackets. You know, it's a little faster. They go like boom, 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 boom.
But what's the ball like?
I don't know. It's just like a
Badminton?
rubber. No. It's just like a rubber ball, and it's the exact same like tennis, just on a smaller court with smaller rackets, and
a lot
it's
of-
super fast.
A lot of those games now.
And against the wall and like. But I think you have to be super fit to do it because
Very coordinated.
you can fuck up your ankles and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's good for me because it's like basketball and football are no go because I have no ACL. I can have
Yeah.
ACL. So like these racket sports are a little like less invasive and I can play
Yeah.
and not have any issues.
Yeah. Did you watch the Super Bowl?
No.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. How does it
I
feel?
watched the highlights though.
Do you think about the football, your football career and everything sometimes, or? So you don't? Do you watch a football game and go
I dream
like,
about it all the time.
yeah?
Yeah, my body's still like you talk about
It's still
body
in your cells.
resonance.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's so deep in my cells that it's I program myself so deeply, dude.
Yeah.
So deeply to play
Yeah.
football, which I'm
Yeah,
sure
me
you know
too.
you did with
Me
soccer too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a dream last night actually.
I'm always wondering how I made it out of there so quick from playing soccer because I was literally breathing soccer. There was nothing else.
Your
I was
mind
completely
is so powerful.
identified. That's not good, but I was identified with playing soccer. If I had a good game, I was through the roof. If I had a shitty game, I felt depressed. That's not good, but that's how much I was identified with playing soccer.
Yes.
So I have no idea how I pulled the triggers like, let's cut this shit. I have no idea. Because everybody asked me, how do you do it? I was like, I just quit.
You just
I'm
did it.
I'm like a
But
100% black and white guy.
You have
know?
a motor that says I just know it's done, so I need to go do the next thing. But it's still like, you still have the same boat.
Yeah.
I know, like the boat that you have built is like your body still remembers all of it. So
And
your
you did it
mindset's
for
moving
years,
on,
bro.
but your body's still like
Yeah.
in it. And that's the crazy part. I think that's why like his thing.
Yeah. Get it
where
out of your system, right?
Clears out that old memory.
Yeah, it's cool.
Would be
Because
super powerful.
that's why depressed people just feel the depression, that anxiety, just from out of nowhere, because it's just
Their cells.
5% in your body and 95% is in your body. So you don't actually need a trigger from the outside world. It's just like it pops up and you are like, hey, actually I'm feeling good, but why do I feel depressed right now?
Yeah.
Because I'm actually aware that I should feel good right now, but it's in your body. It's manifested itself into your body, and that's how that feeling pops up. Boom. And that's what we talked about, like reprogram the cells and everything. And so you can heal yourself from the inside and the outside, and you combine those things, like subconsciously working on it and doing the cold plunge and everything. I think that's the game changer.
Yes.
But like you said, just doing the cold plunge means absolutely nothing. It's just like a drop on a hot stone. It's just like, and you're gone.
Both. Yes.
Love it, bro.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Perfect time.
Oh. Jeff? Oh, sorry, bro.
That's good.
I was looking for you. I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.